It's a pleasure to welcome Martin Jenkins from the Fashion and Textile Group Training Association.
Thank you very much, Murray, for that introduction. You're absolutely right. Training is a key element of the things that we do in our sector, and certainly something I would like to share with you today, both from an employee perspective, but also from an employer's perspective, and where the skills and the funding to support those skills are available to you if you want to take them up. I'll give you a very, very brief introduction to myself and what I do within the sector. I've worked in textile-related training for 17 years. I started as an apprentice at 16 years old, and I'm continuing to grow and develop apprenticeship programs for people in everything from tailoring at Savile Row, through laundry and dry cleaning operations, and through manufacturing textiles of some of the highest calibre programs and fabrics that we work on in this country. Our approach to training is very, very different now. Years ago, you would sit next to an apprentice or a young person and you would work with them, so the teaching with Nelly scenario. And what we do now is very similar, but with very new, innovative ways of researching and supporting young people. The Fashion and Textile Group Training Association looks at a whole range of things, incorporating everything that happens in textile care services. Our approach is very, very different. The group, over the last 2 years, has developed a number of programs that can support businesses with every training requirement that they require. The key element to that is finding the money to support those costs, and that's what the Fashion and Textile Group Training Association does. Ourselves, working at the Textile Centre of Excellence up in Huddersfield in the north of England, for those that are familiar with it, is a training provider as well. So we have first-hand experience of the pitfalls, the shortfalls, the falls on the shop floor, the falls all over the place that can happen with training. But we're here to try and facilitate that as best we can and help you grow your organisation. In order to do that, companies require access to funding. One of the key developments over the last couple of years has been something called employer ownership of skills. It's okay for me to stand here and tell organisations that they should invest in training and skills. Realistically, companies need help to do that. Organisations with enormous HR departments will have the facility to do that, but smaller operations may not, and that's where we come in. That's where we can help you with cash to support your requirements for training. It doesn't always have to be bespoke programs, it doesn't always have to be an accredited program. You tell us what you require and we will help you find the training providers, the people who can work as experts in that sector to deliver the programs that you need. So interestingly, some of the key messages from our organisation and from the Group Training Association will be, what do you need from us to help you develop a training programme for the future for your workforce? I look around at this room and a number of other audiences that we work in, where in our industry the ageing workforce is a critical issue, and what we need to do is try and attract young people to take over the jobs that we're likely to leave behind. Myself included, I've taken on an apprentice to try and shadow the work I do in fashion and textiles. One of the other key developments is new technology. We're working, as we've heard from many of the speakers today, at the access to new technology in our sector, and how working with things like a laser plasma machine in textiles can affect stain resistance, antimicrobial treatment through variations of light and gas. That's one of the latest developments in textile manufacturing, and something that I'll share a link with through the pack and through the association later. So, the Fashion and Textile Group Training Association has a number of key objectives, and they are to increase apprenticeship take-up in our sector, in the laundry and dry cleaning and textile care sector. We're doing that because the utilisation of NVQs, for those that are familiar with them, has gone up and down, and we have what we call a spiky profile. Some years we have a large number of people undertaking a training programme, in other years a very low number, and we're trying to make sure that that trend continues in the positive for our organisations. We are accessing funding for businesses. It's very, very difficult to obtain funding, and had I been stood here probably 18 months ago, there would have been nothing on the table from the government. As things stand today, there are pots of money that can match, pound for pound, every penny you put in for training in your industry. If you want to pay £100 for a training course, I can make that £100 as well to match it. That's the type of scenario that we have for our organisation. The only caveat is that these things come with timescales. One of the timescales I'll come to in a minute. What we're trying to do is aggregate demand from people in the sector for the skills that you need for the future of your workforce. So if you tell me, either today or through other organisations, that what you really require is somebody who understands more about our business, who can become the next group of people working on batch washers or the next group of people working as managers of laundries, then that's where we will focus our intention. Everything that we do in our organisation is a member-based, not-for-profit support for the industry, first and foremost. One of the key things that we've identified over the last couple of years is there is a lack of people who have the right qualifications to teach people in our sector. If we can identify with you as employers the types of candidate that can take forward our industry and support the growth of young people, then we will do that. We will help you with the cost of training those people. There are a number of funded programs available through the government at the moment. Here is just a snippet of some of them that will affect people who work in and around our sector. The first one is called the Employer Ownership of Skills Programme. Now this has a relatively tight timescale now, it's 18 months in the making, finishing in June of this year. But this is matching pound for pound every penny that you put into training. So if your organisation has a training budget and you want to maximise that budget, then you need to talk to me about how you can access government support for the things that you want to do. If you are familiar with utilising other programmes like NVQs, then again there is something called the Workplace Learning Fund, which will help you for a longer timescale to 100% subsidise the cost of training in your organisation. If you don't know whether you need training or not for your staff or for yourself, then talk to us. That's our remit, that's what we'll do. We will help you try and identify where the skills gaps are in your workforce. If you don't have any skills gaps, then that's an extremely fortunate position to be in, but certainly something that we can benefit from understanding. So by all means talk to us. We travel, the team within the GTA travels nationally. We can always call in and see anybody at any time, understand a bit more about your business and how we can support you with funding. But the key government priority is apprenticeships. It's very, very difficult to access apprenticeship funding without a recognised training provider. The training providers up and down the country, of which in our sector there are about 20, will support you with delivery of laundry apprenticeships, dry cleaning apprenticeships, textile care apprenticeships, laundry manager apprenticeships, whatever you require, we can support. The important thing to recognise is that the government have identified apprenticeships as their biggest growth element and the biggest priority in the government scheme going forward. Money is available to support companies with recruiting new apprentices. So if you do want to consider growing somebody from scratch at 16 years old, or somebody who's had a bit more industry experience and who can support you at 20, 25 years old, that's absolutely fine, but there are grants available to help you with those costs. The Employer Ownership of Skills programme covers a number of key areas. 4 things came out of a study 18 months ago that suggested that textile, fashion, textile care, laundry, dry cleaning and bespoke tailoring industry suffered from a number of problems: an ageing workforce, and access for young people to support the work that we're looking for. We have a pot of money that can help you. If you want to go to schools and talk to schools about the benefit of working in your organisation, we can cover the cost of you doing that and help you with that. If you want to recruit apprentices, we can help you. If you want to run a work experience programme for a young person to decide whether or not they're right for your organisation or not, we can pay their wages for the first 4 to 7 weeks. If you want to try before you buy, is the term that we would hear on the telly, then we've got an opportunity to do that. These things do come with timescales, so if you are looking at growing your business and you think there is the need for new or a younger candidate to join the workforce, talk to us. We will help where we can. Employer ownership of skills support particularly looks at accredited and non-accredited training. if there is something that you require that doesn't meet any government agenda, i.e. it's not an NVQ, or it's not an apprenticeship, or it's not funded, then talk to us. We will have some money to support the costs of that. You'll see from the slides that I've put up here that the government is involved through organisations like ours in a number of key employer engaging programmes. If there's something you need, then we can help, is the key message for today. I see downstairs a number of new machines that I've not seen in a number of laundries that I've visited. And there's also things called regional growth funds. So if you're considering the purchase of new equipment, then talk to us. We may be able to help identify a pot of money to support the costs of capital investment. So anybody who's considering utilising new machinery, let us know before you spend anything. Don't spend a penny, so to speak, without us having a look at how we might be able to support. There are a number of other things that are available for financial support through our organisation. And there they are. One of the key issues that came out of our industry research was that training the right type of candidate to train my next set of candidates within the mill or within the laundry or within the office is something that we don't have at the minute. We can fund those costs for you. We can cover things like change management and lean manufacturing and how we can support you in your area of work. There are things on there that will, as you see from the bottom, that are 50-50 split. The government has a pot of money, doesn't have an infinite timescale as such, but we can certainly look at how we would support you with any funding that you need. Funding through our organisation is relatively straightforward. We try to take away that bureaucratic element of working with funding organisations. And in doing so, we will help you submit applications for funding if your organisation requires. One of the key things that we would like to see is an influx of candidates into this sector to help support the requirements of the business. That's something that I've started off at 16 years old doing and continue to do now. Our funding will help you do that. It's a very, very short presentation because a lot of what I need to say is going to be on a one-to-one basis. I'm up and down the country all the time, as are the team from the Fashion and Textile Group Training Association. If you would like myself or any of our members of the team to come and visit you at your place of work, then we will, and we can identify what type of support might help you. If there's one thing you remember from this, it's that if you're going to spend anything on training, then talk to me first because I might be able to save you some of that money. Our details are up on there. We will be more than happy to answer any questions as we go through the day. I'll be around until the evening. If there's anything you want me to talk to you about, then by all means be my guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Martin.